question is to ask the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs if she has considered the call by some survivors of the Tuam Mother and Baby Home to collect DNA in order to ensure that as many human remains as possible be identified, and if she will make a statement on the matter.
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. I am aware of the calls by the Tuam Home Survivors Network for the government to begin collecting their DNA samples immediately. They describe this issue as urgent in light of the age profile and health status of some survivors. The purpose of collecting samples would be to compare against DNA profiles which may be generated from the juvenile human remains found at the site of the former Mother and Baby Home at Tuam, and if possible, to make positive identifications. These issues will ultimately be addressed within the legislation that is currently being scoped by my department. However, I am very sympathetic to the concerns of survivors that their ages and health profiles introduce an element of urgency. So I would like to respond as positively as possible to the survivor's request, having regard to the current legislative framework. So with this in mind, I've asked Dr. Jeffrey Shannon to examine whether it is possible to meet this request. And this examination, of course, will be done in the context of what is legally and scientifically possible. In examining this matter, we need to be conscious that important issues arise in relation to the handling of sensitive personal information. I believe, though, that it should be possible to find a solution that takes account of survivors' wishes while providing for those appropriate safeguards. Dr. Shannon is consulting with my officials in the course of his work and will continue to do so, and will provide a report to me in the coming weeks.
Deputy Mitchell, 1 minute.
I'm pleased to see that the government is looking favourably on this request by relatives. This is obviously a very sensitive and a very sad topic, and I do hope that Dr. Shannon looks favourably on the issue, because it is really important to the relatives and survivors, as you said. Minister, I just want to ask you in around the legislation, because it's my understanding that legislation wouldn't be required if somebody is volunteering DNA. Now, I would just hope that maybe you could clarify that where you expect concerns in around this. And you say that Dr. Shannon will report back to you in 8 weeks' time. That's very positive, but I'm just wondering how long will it be then after the report comes back? Will a decision be made on the subject?
Minister.
Again, just to say that, of course, I am aware of the questions, the concerns, and the request from the survivors. I've heard it on the media. They've been in correspondence with me, and I've talked to them directly. So because of that, and because of knowing and working with them so well over the years, that we want to respond positively. I think your question then, in relation to if they volunteer, why is it not just possible to move forward? Let me answer that by just outlining what are the terms of reference that we've agreed in terms of Dr. Shannon's report. Even with the volunteering, we need to ensure that we have the proper legislative framework, because with whatever is collected, the intention and the purpose of that is to compare it with what is found in relation to the remains of the children. And so the terms of reference include that he will be looking at, as I've just said there, the collection of biological samples for comparison purposes. We need to be sure we're okay on that from a legal perspective. The extent to which any relevant family rights under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights might apply, and then how best to ensure that the rights of those who wish to give biological samples could be safeguarded in respect of sensitive personal data and informed consent.
Now, final supplementary.
Thanks very much, Minister, for your response. Minister, along with the discovery of the burial site at Tuam, if I can just come back to what Deputy Sherlock had raised with you previously, we saw the geophysical survey carried out by the Commission at Shanross Abbey in Tipperary. Now, the same religious order was responsible for Vespera, and the concerns we have is that the records show that a number of people who died are contradicting each other. Now, many of the survivors are convinced that there may be other burials on site. Now, Minister, I know that you say that this Commission is independent and I just want to ask you, Minister, would you support a similar survey that was conducted at Shanross Abbey? I know it's independent, but I'm asking you, in your capacity as Minister, would you throw support behind a similar survey?
Can I get Minister?
Okay, it's a great question, Deputy. And you know, you started by, in terms of asking me that question, the records show, and in terms of numbers and not adding up. This is why, ultimately, I mean, the most comprehensive a record and analysis of the records will be the Commission's report on the burials, and we are getting that pretty soon. So the records which you say are there, and I'm aware of them too, and you know we have a lot of other people to be grateful to in that regard, not the least of which are some of our journalists, is that the records show that that will be part of the report. As a result of that report, they will be making some findings, some recommendations probably, and you know, they haven't conducted, as I've indicated, any geophysical work in relation to that site. I'm not privy to why they've made that decision, or even if they might change before the report comes out, but I suspect not. And should there be evidence in relation to their records that they offer that more work needs to be done in that regard, I'm the one who got the decision in relation to Tuam. Let me just say it that way.